Today we will unbox and review ST21, the new mono-red deck with Luffy in his Gear 5 form as a leader. For those of you who play from the start, this deck should be the upgraded version of ST01. Let's start by checking what's in the box. Inside we have game manual, sleeves with the Luffy and his dream from manga and anime, and it's also the art from one of the best cards in the deck. Bonus card pack that contains 3 cards per pack, and we have a chance to open some really spicy alt arts with the arts from the deck itself. And lastly, ready to play deck of Monkey D. Luffy leader. At the end of this video we will check which cool alt arts I opened in my pack, but now let's check each card from the deck one by one. We start with leader Monkey D. Luffy. Very cool effect. If we have one Dawn attached to him, we can give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to one of our characters. So already we can see the improvement from the previous starter deck. Next we have Monkey D. Luffy SR card, only 2 copies in a deck, and I think this is the best card printed for this starter deck and is usable if many other red decks. Simple 5 cost 6000 power rusher that when attacking can give 1 rested Dawn to your leader or one of your characters. Second SR of the deck is Ronoa Zoro, that is 4 cost 5000 power character, and this card is a little bit more specific. You need to have 2 Dawn attached to this character to gain rush, and on KO we can play 1 red character card with 6000 power or less other than Ronoa Zoro from our hand. This card seems custom made to this leader, but also I think really good in the Dragon leader, but need to test and find out. I don't really think that this card matches our Zoro leader, but maybe I will be surprised. Next we have common Usopp, 2 cost 3000 power, but it's a 2k counter. With 2 Dawn attached, during opponent's turn this character gains 2000 power. Next we have card that is said to be a replacement for Diable Jambe, 2 cost 3000 power, Sanji in common slot, 2000 counter, and on play we can select one of our Straw Hat Crew type characters with 6000 power or more, and if selected character attacks during this turn, your opponent cannot activate the blocker. So the main difference is that we can target only the characters, we cannot target the leader like Diable Jambe. The plus side is that Sanji is already 3000 power, so very easy to attack in red decks, just some Dawn management, and we can also push with this character on the following turns. And as we can see, we already have some good candidates for the unblockable trait to be attached to them. Next we have Bonnie, 1 cost 3000 power character without a counter. Very simple effect with 2 Dawn attached, on KO draw 1 card, so again it seems like a card custom made for the Luffy leader, not really useful in other leaders maybe except for the Dragon. The base rule is if any card is usable by this leader, by the new Monkey D. Luffy leader, then probably it's also usable by Monkey D. Dragon leader. Next we have Jinbe, another common slot, 2 cost 4000 power with 1k counter, so simple vanilla stats. However, I really love how they put the common slot with the full art, let's say. Sure, we still have a border, but take a look at this beautiful shine on the Jinbe, how happy he is to go through the sea on his ship. Next we have another vanilla and one of my favorite female characters, especially on the Egghead arc and Egghead type. Indeed it is, that we can also see from the outfit. Another vanilla character, 3 cost 5000 power with an amazing full art. Bandai is really doing great job rewarding the players that are maybe not rich enough to play the whole decks in alt art, blinking them up. Here we have common slot again and beautiful foiling. Next we have simple blocker, Sentomaru, jump blocker because only 2000 power, and again very nice art and foiling, and we are referencing the Egghead again. So if you watch the Egghead, you already probably recognize what is going on here. If not, then it's a must watch. Next, another vanilla, and this is the cutest vanilla in the deck. 4 cost 6000 power, Tony Chopper, again, full art, beautiful foiling, and as in any red deck, those vanilla characters can be really dangerous, especially if you combine them with the leader's effect and start attaching them. 4 cost 6000 power is really good play on curve to have on board. Next, another beauty, 3 cost 1000 power, 1k counter, Nami in the common slot again. With an effect, activate main once per turn. We can give 2 rested Dawn cards to one of our Straw Hat Crew type leader or character cards. And here again, kind of an upgrade over the old Nami, however 3 cost is a little bit steep. I think we want to play normally more powerful characters, more impactful characters on our freedom turn, but to teach new players how to manipulate the Dawn, I think it's really cool inclusion. Next, another free drop. We had the waifu Nami, now waifu Robin. We are getting beautiful arts again here, eating some cotton candy, probably with Chopper together. 3 cost 4000 power, 1k counter, and with 2 Dawn attach when attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 4000 power or less. So here again we have the reference for the previous starter deck, now with a little upgrade, and we can KO stronger characters. So again, this is 3 cost, this is the common spot, but I think we much rather play Robin on curve than Nami. But like I said, those cards are just to teach new players the game. They are by no means the competitive staples. Next, another common slot, Frankie, another Straw Hat Crew member, 3 cost 4000 power, 1k counter. So many free costs that we might think that we really want to go first with this deck. Let's check later what is the most optimal way to play it. With 2 Dawn attached during opponent's turn, all of your Straw Hat Crew type characters with 4000 power base or less gain plus 1000 power. So a little bit of defensive option here, but because we have 4000 power, we can still attack with Frankie after attaching the Dawn to him, and he will cover himself with additional power bonus because it's also the Straw Hat. Next, another free drop in the common spot, Brook. 3 cost 4000 power again, so again the power level is easy to buff with some Dawn management and manipulation. When attacking, give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. So again, I think it's a little wink to the players from the past, from starter deck, that were using the 2 cost Brook that had the similar effect, but on play. Here we have when attacking effect, so consistent effect on board, however it's just 1k counter. Next, another Egghead Vanilla. I'm only thinking if someone didn't watch or didn't read Egghead yet, they are getting some spoilers, so to say, but it's not our concern. Again, so to say, full art, beautiful foiling, and yeah, for the common card, really stepping up. Thank you, Bandai, for this approach. And then we move on to the events. Here the common slot event, 2 cost Gam Dawn Whip, and the effect up to one of your leader or character cards gain plus 1000 power during this turn, then up to one of your opponent's character with 4000 power or less cannot activate blocker during this turn. So interesting approach, not exactly Diable Jambe, but something to skip the blockers is always useful in red decks. And also interesting trigger, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 4000 power or less. So the card is really targeting either champ blockers or utility cards on opponent's board. With the trigger you can KO some searcher, you can KO some utility card that is in this range. And lastly, nemesis of all green players, 4 cost Gam Mole Pistol. This card is targeting the 8 cost kit precisely. Activate main, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 5000 power during this turn. Then if you have character with 6000 power or more, and we most likely have, either by base power or attaching the Dawn during our turn, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 2000 power or less. So even if opponent has the character that maybe is 8000 power, like for example used as Captain Kid, normally they play them together with some jump blocker to make it easier to defend. However, with Gum Gum Pistol we can reduce one character to make it in range for our smaller characters' attacks and KO the jump blocker that most likely will have 2000 power or less. For example, Rosinante from the green decks. And the trigger is just activating the main effect. We just need to be careful if we have the 6000 power character, like for example Luffy on board, to KO anything. If not, this minus 5000 power might be enough to survive one additional lethal attack and defeat our opponent on the clubback. And as always, we also receive 10 copies of Dawn, the shiny Dawns, not the standard ones, so the deck is ready to be played to learn the game straight off the bat. Okay, we know how the deck looks more or less, which cards we received. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. But now let's take a look what a new or beginner player gets out of the deck to start playing right away. And let me make it clear, by no means it's the competitive deck, but still you can use it to learn and get a hang of One Piece card game in a great way, pushing the face with a red deck full of Straw Hats. First, I would like to bring your attention to the ratios in a deck, and this is quite popular in those starter decks, that to have all the cards in a playset, so 4 copies of a card, we need to buy 2 copies of the starter deck, because as you can see, we have only 2 2k counters Usopp, 2 2k counters Sanji, so in total we have just 4 2k counters, which is, to be honest, a joke. Normally a deck should have in between 8 up to 12, some defensive decks even 14 or 16 2k counters, depending on the meta and the deck type. And not only that, our strongest cards have only 2 copies as well. Nico Robin may be not the great card in a vacuum, but still some form of the removal for the starter deck. Our super rare cards, Zoro and Luffy, also only 2 copies, and then the events also 2 copies each. And as we can see, the events have a trigger effect, so it's also important that if you have just 2 copies of them, it's not so sure that they will be in life, even though we are 5 life leaders, so consistency might not be there yet. Other than that, all the other cards have the normal playset ratio, so 4 copies each. 4 copies of a jump blocker for the deck with such a low curve where the biggest character is 5 cost. It's not a bad thing to have 4 jump blockers, but still when we have a lot of characters that are 4000 power, including just 4 copies of a 2k counter is criminal. So now how the deck should play. First of all, the deck does really good job in introducing the way of building or thinking about the deck building around the leader's effect. As a reminder, we need 1 Dawn attach for the effect to be active, and then we manipulate to rested Dawn. So how this deck can teach the new or beginner player how to execute this tactic. And here we have interesting approaches, because we have many different ways that we can adapt our game plan to actually make our leader useful. First of all, I think the idea is that we want to go first with this deck, and let me explain why. So first of all, we have 8 copies of the, so to say, vanilla characters. Obviously Bonnie is better, because with 2 Dawn attach, we can later draw a card if our opponent decides to KO it. So the normal setup would be play the 1 cost on your turn 1, and with 8 copies in a deck, it's quite easy to have a 1 cost in the opening hand. We always want to play Bonnie first because Vegapunk has a counter. Then on our Freedom turn, we have the really interesting choices. As we can see, we have 18 cards that are free cost, so it's guaranteed that you will have free cost to play on curve. And now, this is the most important turn for this deck. In this decision, you can see if you are already improving as a new player with your decision making and game plan approach. And why is that? In the deck, we have two very similar cards, but still with a slightly different effect. We have Nami, that is activate main to attach the rested Dawn to leader or character, and we have Brook that does the same thing, but when attacking. And here comes small interaction. If we play Nami for free Dawn, we have free Dawn rested. Let's say we have 1 cost on board. If we activate Nami's effect, we can attach a Dawn to Luffy. It's up to 2, so we can decide to attach just 1, and we need 1 Dawn for the Luffy's effect, and then activate Luffy's effect to give the remaining 2 Dawn to Bonnie. So what we do in this way, first of all, we have 5k attacker Bonnie, that if our opponent wants to clear the next turn, they need to invest the attack and also give us a card from the KO effect. So we have 5k attack, then 6k attack with leader, and this is our free Dawn turn if we utilize Bonnie Nami combo. Something to think about. However, like I said, we have some other options as well. Nami is only 1000 power character, so if our opponent clears the Bonnie, we are left basically with our leader because we need to attach too many Dawn to Nami to make her useful next turn. In One Piece card game, it's really important to think a turn ahead, at least a turn ahead. And what I mean by that, we would really like to have either Zoro or Monkey D. Luffy ready in our hand for our 5 Dawn turn, and then based on which of those characters we have in hand, we can decide how we want to approach the 3 Dawn turn, which of those characters to play. And why is that? As a red deck, we want to put as much pressure as possible on our opponent. So if I have Zoro in hand, I will be playing him on the turn with 5 Dawn. I already know that I will pay 4 for Zoro, attach 1 Dawn to leader, the one that is remaining from 5 Dawn, and use the effect to attach 2 rested Dawn to Zoro to start attacking with Rush. But it also means that if on my 3 Dawn turn I play any of those characters with just 4000 power or 1000 power like Nami, I have 1 less attack. So if I know that I'm going to play Zoro, the best free cost to play will be Stussy, because then on 5 Dawn turn I have 3 really nice attacks. 5k with Stussy, 6k with leader, and 7k with Zoro. The other character that complements such play is Brook, because his effect is when attacking. So we can play the Brook down, attach 1 remaining Dawn to the leader, and then attach 2 rested Dawn first to Brook, so we still have 2 rested Dawn left on board from playing Zoro, then attack with Brook, and attach the 2 rested Dawn to Zoro to give him Rush. So in total, we will have 6k attack with leader, 6k attack with Brook, and 7k attack with Zoro. Different scenario would be if we would have 5 cost 6000 power Luffy in hand, because then we have a little bit more freedom which free cost we want to play. And this is because Luffy already has Rush, so this is the best card to play on your 5 Dawn turn. When attacking, you attach the Dawn to your leader anyway, and then you can assign 2 rested Dawn to one of your, for example, 4000 power characters. So again, we will have 6000 power attack from Luffy rushing, then 6000 power attack from one of our characters. If it's 2C, it will be 7000, and 6000 power again from Monkey D. Luffy leader. This is also great if we know that we are playing against some smaller characters, maybe against Zoro or any other spam board deck, that we can prepare Nico Robin in advance, because we already know if we play Luffy next turn we are attaching Dawn to Robin, so we can KO 4000 power or less character. And even if we don't have Zoro or Luffy in hand, it's enough that we have, for example, Chopper, that we have 4 copies of him, because then we still have 1 Dawn left to attach to our leader and make use of our leader's effect. So I hope this was a good example for you why it's so crucial to have a good decision making even with simple starter deck that is mono red, Monkey D. Luffy Gear 5, and how to approach those sample turns. The small difference which 3-cost character you play on your turn 2, depending on your turn 3 5 Dawn turn, might make a huge difference in the game. I invite you to brainstorm the plays like that for the next turns, because when you have more Dawn to use, you can adapt your turns better. It was just simple example to get you started and give you some good thinking from a little bit more experienced player if you are new or beginner. And now for the cards itself, is it worth to buy the starter deck 21? If you play any deck that is using red color identity, I say yes, because in this deck we have 3 really important cards. First of all, 5-cost Luffy, absolutely the best card in the deck. Second of all, Gum Gum Mole Pistol, the killer of Bonnie, that is getting popularity now after the ban list. And lastly, 2-cost Sanji, that is great Diable Jambe replacement and 2k counter in 1 card, which is really important, especially if you play Zoro. You know that playing Zoro each slot is crucial and the lists are getting really tight nowadays. So this Sanji being 2 cards in 1 and also 2k counter is really a lifesaver. Unfortunately, the decks are built how they are, that the best cards are only 2 copies. So if you can afford it and you are thinking of playing One Piece a little bit more serious, you will need to buy 2 of them, and this is what I recommend for now. Okay, so as promised, we will open now the promo pack. And in our bonus pack we have the Rook, beautiful shiny, extended art, all the best. We are hoping for the leader, but let's see, or maybe 5-cost Luffy from a Zoro deck. We have the Brook and we have Zoro. Zoro really nice. The Zoro arts are always so dynamic, with a nice texture and foiling. And the last card from the pack, Stussy. So we have waifu card at least. Okay, not the best pulls, but for the collection they are nonetheless beautiful, and the background, the texture really nice. So waifu card for the album. But now I would like to hear from you. What do you think about starter deck 21? Are you mono red player, or are you mixing red with other colors, or you are simply a collector and just want the cool box on the shelf? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.